Welcome back, dear listeners, to another engaging episode of Leverage Addict Podcast, the show where we unravel the secrets of strategic property investment. And I'm your host, Landon. And today we have a remarkable guest who's here to share an extraordinary journey. Terry Senior, principal of the Hamilton International School. Now, it's not the Hamilton down below Auckland, it's actually overseas. Is that right, Terry?
It's in Qatar, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. So Terry's actually took a bit of time early in the morning to do this podcast for us. So I really appreciate your time. And Terry's story is a fusion of education and property investment. Unexpected, yet inspiring, because he sort of came to Mortgage HQ 12 months ago and he came with just 2 freehold properties paid off, right? And just the 3 income, I believe it was. And under 12 months, he's turned that into 30 plus rental income. And so it's going to be an amazing podcast today, and distinguish Terry is his steadfast dedication to values. And that's what something really stood out for me, right? When we had the conversation, there was something that's really important to him. And he not only translated through the interaction that we've had with him, but also into his investing as well, right? Like he wants to create positive impact through his investing. So he embodies the concept that property investment can serve as a force for good, harmonizing with one's fundamental principles and convictions. So join us today as we dive into Terry Senior's incredible journey, exploring the lessons learned and the values that guide him and what's sort of come in the future for him as well. So welcome, Terry, to the Leverage Addict Podcast.
Thanks, Brandon. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you as well. I thought maybe, by starting off the podcast, we can understand, because your journey is quite unique. You're overseas as a Kiwi at the moment, and you've got an education background, and you've done the property thing for a while as well. And maybe you can share a little bit about with the audience how you sort of took that leap to become a property investor, because you probably started teaching as your beginning journey.
Well, back in 2005, I actually was a principal, so was a principal in New Zealand. I went to a property seminar out at the Ellerslie Racecourse and thought, well, I had heard that if you have a rental property that can help offset your tax, and I thought, well, that was interesting to me. And none of my family have done this, and I thought, well, there's got to be a way forward. And I was really intrigued to see what that would look like. So basically, I have always had like what you'd call your family home, and then I had the rental property in Mount Wellington in 2005. So I figured in what I had heard that basically if I got a home with an income, then that will help be able. I just need a bit to pay for the mortgage because I didn't have enough to do anything more than that. So I had the 3-bedroom and a sleep out. So I guess that's where it began. Then in 2013, I had our family home in which I sold and bought. In 2013, I bought that house for $880 and sold it for 2.4. So it was at the peak of the market, and was really happy with that in terms of the money we'd made. I was told don't ever buy any flats in Tokoroa. Don't do that because it wasn't a good place to do it. But there was a property that came up, had 10 flats on it and a 3-bedroom property. And so I thought, and just all the numbers added up. And sometimes you have to go with what you think, and took a risk and went, and that gave me a really good cash flow. And essentially off that, I later on then subdivided the 3-bedroom home off, and that gave me a bit more of an nest egg to then buy a property in Rotorua. I had 5 bedrooms on the top and had a massive basement below. And so what I did was I was in China at that time, so it was again an overseas thing. I converted the basement to 3-bedroom flat, if you will, and a 2-bedroom flat. What I learned from that was that I got a guy to help do it who was a handyman, and the walls weren't straight, and basically I had to get a builder to come and do the whole thing. I thought I could do it cheaper, but it didn't work out. Didn't have anyone in New Zealand to really help me with that, so I was trying to do it from overseas. It was a bit of a nightmare. Changed path, but through that whole experience, learned a tremendous amount. Got a builder to do it, got the whole thing done properly, try and manage it from my side. And it was a bit of a mission, but we got through that, and it took a couple of years to get it right, but eventually it did, and now it's operating well. So yeah, so essentially at that point I had a property in Mount Wellington, the flats in Tokoroa, and the property in Rotorua. And then so when I sold our family home and got that, I was able to pay everything off, and that was in 2022. So then that brought me up to speed. I'm going, well, okay, I've got really specific goals I want to be able to achieve. I'm oldish, looking towards retirement, and what's that going to look like for me? me and my family. And because I'm overseas, I'm not eligible to have any superannuation. And so therefore, in my more senior years, survive. I really wanted to have a really specific goals in terms of property management. And a lot of things I learned along the journey. And it's not just about doing houses. I mean, when I did the place in Tokoroa, I've got an amazing wife. She gave me sort of 3 weeks to go away. And I went down there, and it was known as like the crime capital of Tokoroa, the flats. So we exited the majority of the tenants stage right, and stage left came in and did bathrooms and kitchens and all that sort of stuff, and repainted it and changed it around, and then got a really good property manager. And I think that's really key, is having good property managers who took over the property and got really good people in and changed the clientele. And it's just humming along, and it's a really, really good rental in terms of what we're getting off it. So that's helped us move forward.
That's really awesome, and that does give us like a really quick snapshot of how you started in property, the investment journey. I thought what would be interesting is maybe diving into some of the ideas or like key lessons that you've had. Sort of, investors go on this growth curve, right? Like in the beginning, they go to a seminar, they're like, I know a lot now. But, when they reflect 3 years down the track or 5 years down the track, and they're like, man, I knew nothing, right? Yeah. We all have that epiphany. So what were some of the key milestone lessons that you feel like you had throughout that journey?
I think for me, I've got to have a very clear goal of what you want to achieve. And obviously when you start off, you just think it's a good idea. And then you start to crystallize really why you're doing this and what you want to do moving forward. I think the older you get, the more crystallized it becomes. And as you know, I think it's really important. For me, I've got a really strong faith, and I think that's really important to help you with your decision making. And if you don't, what I've learned is not to force something. When you're doing property and you really want this property and you're trying to engineer it, and everything you do to engineer it to make it happen, it doesn't work. You've got to know when to walk away and going, this isn't for me. Whereas other times it might be, it has its challenges, but it works, and you sort of got to be able to know the difference. And for me, that's been hugely important. Otherwise, you could have actually bought a disaster. So it's about knowing, helping with your decision making. I've got an amazing wife that supports me to enable me to do what I do. I think it's courage to step out of the box and out of the boat to go and to do this. I've read so many books, and all the books say, that everyone can do it. Well, you can, but it actually takes discipline. The other thing alongside the whole, property journey is, I think, health and discipline for me are really important. There's no point doing this if you haven't got your health. So when it comes to that, I believe that, being healthy is super important. And the other principle I believe is having wisdom in the counsel of others. I think having a really good team that can work with you to be able to support you and guide you. People who've had many years of experience and being able to dovetail into that. And then as I learn and through my experience, I'm able to help others along the journey as well and support them with their property dreams. And I think that's huge as well. Education, in our school, our school vision is igniting passion, purpose and potential. And that came directly out of my CV, because I really believe that if you love what you're doing and you know your purpose and your potential is limitless, you can do anything. So education is super important, and it goes alongside that. So if you love property, which I do, I think that take time to read books and go to seminars and talk to people and just do your thing. So for me, the other real strong thing was that I have always believed that in everywhere I go, to be able to make a difference in the lives of others. So who's in your sphere of influence? When I was in Tokoroa for the 3 weeks, I met a guy who came in off the street and said, can I give you a hand? I'm out there in gumboots and overalls, building fences and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, sure.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I've already ever seen the suit and tie,
like the suit and tie. The kids can't believe it when they see me without a suit and tie and a pair of shorts and generals, but that's okay. So anyway, this guy came in and I said, look, I'll pay you per day if you come and you work with me, and that's how it's going to be. So I paid him cash every day that he came in to see me. And basically, I had 3 weeks him working alongside me, helping me build fences and work on the property. And it was during that time I was able to really help support him with his decisions. Some previous decisions weren't so good.
Right.
But it's things like that, who is in your sphere of influence, being able to help support them with what they're doing. And I think that that's important. So, as you go on life's journey, you meet all sorts of folk. And I think those are in your sphere of influence. So how can you make their lives better? So yes, that's one of the principles. And trusting the numbers. What the numbers say when you look at the property and being able to work your way through it, and then making very clear decisions around that. And I think one of the other things is I think I would consider myself outside of my own personal control, because I think there's another big factor to this. And that is understanding the property cycle. I've been so fortunate with when I bought and when I've sold, because I've always seemed to have sold at the peak and bought in the low, and being in the right side of the cycle. And you see, everyone's sort of worried now. Should we? I'm waiting for the interest rates to come down and this, that, and the other. I think you should get in front of the curve. And look at the cycle, do your research, and then see where it's going to go. And it can definitely work for you. And I'm super happy, which I will talk about shortly, I guess, is the properties I've got now. And if I wish I had that knowledge 10 years ago, because I'd be retired now on a boat fishing somewhere. So, it would be, I think that is something I'm really so thankful for as to where I'm at now. And basically, I feel like I've hit an accelerator, a turbo to what I'm doing now. Super exciting.
Yeah, no, it is incredible. Even just watching from the sideline. I mean, I am involved, but I step out and go. I look at. I mean, there are multiple clients that I'm just step out, just amazed at the result. And definitely, Terry, your journey is definitely one of them, right? And something that I do notice, since the beginning, when we first interact, right? You talk about it, a lot of the things that you talked about just now, their principles, they relate to values. Very early on, it sounds like even in your role, it's very important to be able to bring the right people on board. And I feel like maybe there's a structure to how you think about, how you recruit the people that you work with. Also, how you make decisions, the set of principles or values that sort of influence your decision making. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm really fortunate at the moment. The school that I'm part of now, when I came from China to here as principal, I'm actually the founding principal of Hamilton. We started with 150 odd students and a few staff. When it's grown now to 165 staff and over 1,100 students, just under 5 years. My philosophy is that I always say, tell the staff, no one cares how much you know until you know how much you care. And I think it's really important. For me, having a team where they've got skin in the game, I think that's important. And you get a sense that do people genuinely care about you, or you're only a commodity? And having that relationship with those who genuinely care about you, I think is really important. So when you're picking the right people in your team, you want to have a property broker who's got skin in the game, who've got properties and who's walking the walk and talking the talk with you. The same with your accountant, the same with your lawyer, the same with your property finder, the same with your agent finder, the same with your property managers, because they're people who are on the ground who are working for you. And I think property managers are key to making sure that they have the right tenants. And if they know that you care about them and they care about you, then they'll go the extra mile to make sure they're finding the right people. So instead of having person A, they go with person B because person B is better. Better. So, it's all right. I think that combination is really important. Trusting the process, enjoying each day, having an attitude of gratitude, really appreciating others, I think is super important, and the whole thing is a journey. It's a process. It's life, so having a positive outlook as you're going through it. And, if it all goes away tomorrow, well, then it goes away tomorrow. But what does it look like in terms of that journey? We're here and we're doing our thing and not getting all tied up and stressed about it. And I think that I feel in my age now, I'm really settling into the process of how this is supposed to look and working my way through it. And I have to catch myself because I'm a driver. I do drive really hard, but I can't go ahead of myself, if that makes sense, because then you become dissatisfied. So have a happy dissatisfaction, I guess, because you want to do better. And I think that's a really important principle. But you don't want to be where you're always wanting for that thing up the road and you're never actually happy or have gratitude for the things that are right in front of you right now. Good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's so easy to compare or perhaps, not be happy with what you've got, but you have to kind of enjoy the moment, right? And be grateful with what you had, but not be content is not even the right word. It's more like always just strive to be better, but not dissatisfied, like what you suggested. I thought maybe plug in something in here, because when you talk about your journey, we hear a lot of the good stuff, like the things, the successes, the tremendous growth that you've had, the people that you've come across. Even you call it luck. I think there is more than just luck. Just selling at the peak and buying. You had 2 freehold property at the start of the market, right? Like there's definitely like a bit of luck, but I'm sure, there's a lot of knowledge around it, but there's probably some key lessons. Like what are some of the ones that you feel like, wow, that was really tough. Like that situation that you went through was so tough. That were the key lessons that, you're like, it really shaped the way you work.
The first 3 properties I couldn't afford. I was outside of my paradigm. It was right on I got turned down by banks. It was more, I had to show more income. So I had to go and get the wife to get a job and while she had a job, to show that she had the income that would just to manage to get us across the line. All the stress around having a young family at the time and everything, and dealing with those just day-to-day things, it was really stressful. But knowing that the numbers for me worked, but the bank couldn't see it. I can do this, and so it was worthwhile, getting together with the wife and saying, we can make this happen. And that was really tough, because you're having to dig down and going, well, the reality is you've still got a young family, you're still trying to make it happen. And everything is hard. And buying groceries, all of that stuff is really hard. And you know that even though you've got a property, it doesn't make you super rich. It makes you super, I don't have any cash flow. Yeah. And you're looking for the long-term goals of where you're heading for the future. So, and it's that dry season that you're going through, and it can be really tough. But when you see, I know that, and then when you see the properties increase the value, then you know there's a further opportunities. You're talking with people on their successes, and you're going, okay, and as I said before, you're crystallizing your goals. So yeah, it can be really tough, particularly in the beginning. And if you're stretched to the limit, the only cash flow is what you're bringing in. How do you increase that? And then things go wrong. A tenant's leave, or you get a flood through your house or whatever, and you go, oh man, you're getting an unexpected bill that's going to hit you sideways. You go, I don't know how we're going to do this. But that's part of the journey, and it's about managing that. You learn more through the tough times than you do through the easy times. And it's that helps you grow you and increases your capacity as an individual.
Yeah, that's so good. And I laughed at the cash flow part because of how quickly interest rate changed, right? The rate of the change was, 300% within like 3 months. It was crazy. And I definitely could relate to that when you said it, because if I didn't have a good chunk of my interest on 2.99%, I definitely would feel a lot more. But like, you're right, because sometimes you have to zoom out and go, okay, yes, there is this blip in the cash flow right now, but being able to refer back to, even if the market went down, like you've made significant gains on the properties, you've got that backup plan to, liquidate, because you can downsize, on the portfolio slightly short term, and then you can expand again. And so having that bigger picture, that bigger vision on what is it that you're trying to achieve is so important. So thank you for that. And Terry, one of the most remarkable aspects of your story is actually the speed of how you expanded your portfolio. What we said at the start was, you came with 2 properties, and the thing that was special was like, well, you came prepared.
It was actually 3 properties.
3 properties, sorry.
3 properties, yeah.
Well, I thought it was 2 properties with multi-income on it.
No, 3, because I had one in Mount Wellington, one in Tokoroa, and one in Rotorua.
Okay, I better not tell you guys the wrong story. So there you go. Terry corrected me. I remember it was basically, you've got these properties where you started. You're like, okay, I paid off everything. I sold some at the peak, paid off everything. Now I'm like freehold, and now you're just out there making decisions because the bank is just like funding everything at 100%. What strategy mindset allow you to achieve this rapid growth?
I have a goal. What does it look like for me to be able to retire and live off the rental properties? What do I need to be able to achieve that? So interesting enough, and I work on Saturdays, so I came in, was Google searching people who might be able to help me with my property journey in New Zealand. And I was going down one direction with one company, and then I don't know whether it was an ad or something popped up for you guys. I thought, oh yeah, who are you? Long story short, connected with you, Brandon. That has probably for me been one of the best decisions I've made, because I told you what I wanted to achieve. You said, well, this is how you do it. And you helped crystallize for me the journey, which is that you need to have 3 properties that are high cash flow. And then from there, you need to have 1 or 2 properties, 2 or 3, you can then pay down the rest of that loan, and that will help set you up for the future. I said, brilliant, let's get on with it. I now know what I have to achieve. How do I go about doing that? You connected me with Hadley. Hadley knew exactly what I needed and what we were after. And so then we bought the property in Napier, one in Napier, one in Hastings, and 2 in Wanganui. But over that time, they obviously needed to be renovated to healthy home standard. I guess it's been busy for me because every morning before work, I come in early, and I pay all my bills that come through for the renovation. So I'm doing three properties with renovations. There's been a lot of bills that have been coming in. Getting the loan helps support that. I have the philosophy that these guys, I will pay my bills within 24 hours. I work the principle of 24 hours is really important for me. So 24 hours to reply to any email, make sure my bills are up to date, and I'm on point. And having Hadley find these properties, they've just been bang on. I mean, the fees, don't tell them this, but the fees nothing compared to what you're actually getting for the property. I've been in a completely different position. Now they're strong. I think the last property now, rent's going to be coming in this week, thank goodness. And then we can, that's all good. And those 3, the rent come in, and then I'm going to be focusing on a land bank and being able to find a property that we can put houses on, whether it be the one that I have in Mount Wellington or whether it be something else, I don't know. But it's really, that side of it's really exciting because I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like, their plans, and that side of the journey I haven't done before. And so then again, it's connecting with really good people who've got plenty of skin in the game who can help guide you through this process so you're not making dumb decisions because you don't know. So you've got experts to help support you with that. So yeah, it's been what was that like? Since first one was bought in December, and then in 6 months we bought the 4 properties.
Yeah. So the 4 properties, if you guys, for the listeners out there, these are all multi-units, all have multiple incomes. So we're basically buying in bulk, getting a bit of discount, and then the yield is usually better, and it allows Terry to add value as well, because a lot of them do come a little bit more run down because people are sort of disposing them and getting rid of them. So they were a really good gems for Terry to expand on. So that's why he's able to get the 30 plus incomes. So that's really awesome, Terry. Like your story highlights obviously the potential for, investments to not just only, I guess, build wealth for yourself, but being able to contribute to the society. Like, how do you see properties sort of aligning, what you believe in, and how does it sort of fit in the greater purpose?
Well, I mean, there's tremendous housing in shortage, and I know that if I'm providing quality homes for folk, then that's got to be good. And that I make sure that the houses that I have, I do them well so that would I be prepared to live in it? And so therefore, yeah, I would, because it's done well, it's healthy homes, it's compliant, it's got everything that it needs. Sometimes it might cost me a little bit more, but it helps get me the right tenant. And if they're proud of coming into their apartment, their flat or house that they've got, then they feel proud about it as well. I try and find opportunities to connect with them and say, look, how can I support you? I think these things are really, really important because it's not just about the money, it's about the people. I think also as important is helping the next generation. My kids, and I taught business studies as well as part of what I did in terms of teaching and showing others ways that you can do that. I remember talking about property and the theory of property back in 2005. I showed the kids the principle of every 10 years, what it looks like in terms of the rollover and how much you can make and this, that, and the other, and show how many houses you can have and once you pay these off and da-da-da-da-da. And that as a basic principle. But I didn't really have any skin in the game. I can now go back and say, now, this is the way, walkie in it. This is how you do it. And I think that, and it's exciting. And I think that, it's fun. It's a pretty cool way to earn a bit of money and to have I just think it's great. I love it. I really enjoy it. I love it at this point, probably in my time, whereby when I do retire, that I'd like to get into this more because it drives me, and I like to do something to really enjoy. So for sure, I've been involved in this, and it's just cool. I mean, I really enjoy it.
You'll put the suit down and put the overalls back on.
I don't know. I think probably I've learned to work smarter, not harder. I think hopefully I can have a good people that I can connect with that can help do that sort of stuff. But definitely putting some go boots on and walking around a site and figuring things out and getting the vision of how it's supposed to look at that sort of level would be what I'd like to do. But then again, I've always loved being on the tools as well. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Get in and make it happen. I mean, it's funny right now where I am in terms of making these properties happen and paying off some bills. I'm driving around in a little Uber car, and my son says to me, "Hey, Dad, why don't you have a Ferrari or whatever kind of car?" And he says, you can do that. And I said, well, actually, no, I'm just choosing not to do anything like that because I want to work this. And he says, well, you drive around in an Uber car. And I go, yeah, well, I am for the minute, but that'll change in time. And I think that's part of it as well. Is that, I mean, I've always believed to work hard and then reward yourself. So after I've done it, worked really hard, then there's something I can do to enjoy myself. And it's that principle, because I deserve it. You go to the gym, you can, you feel great at the end of it. I think that those things are important.
Yeah, that's so good. And the thing about Uber car these days, they are Teslas, right? So it's not so bad. Like I'm happy to drive a Uber car.
The truth is, at the moment, mine's a rental cheap Chinese job. No, but that's okay. It's working for me, and it's been embarrassing parking in the principal's parking lot with a little Uber car, but it's only for the time being.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, if you look into what Steve Jobs was driving, this is what billionaires drive. So it's all good. So to wrap out our conversation, Terry, we talked a little about your future already, sort of like what you are looking forward to. I thought maybe if you expand on a little bit on sort of, you built the portfolio, you said you're potentially looking at the land banks, you want to do more project stuff. Like, what are you looking forward to in your property investing?
Property development.
Property development? Why is that interesting for you?
For me, I need to be able to develop some properties so I can put that money back in and get the mortgage paid off. So what I've had to borrow to be able to do these other properties, I then need to get some significant money in to pay down that mortgage, so I can be, again, mortgage free. So that's why that's important to me. And it interests me to see what opportunity that area will open up. I mean, I've done the rentals and the rental properties. I want to see what property development looks like and learn a whole lot more through that journey. But to do it with people who you trust and will help build that element of your portfolio with you, and everyone wins. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. It excites me. And as you've built tracks in the sand with the people that I've worked alongside so far, I believe everything's built on trust, and as you're working together, they can see, you're genuine. I like working with Hadley. Hadley likes working with me. We make clear decisions, so you're not dancing around on a pin or anything like that. You're able to move forward. So I think that that definitely excites me, and having all the properties paid down means that I've got an income that I can do more with.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So a little bit about the equity creating aspect. You can create the equity and add value and design something that making it come alive, and it's actually going to help you pay off majority of your mortgage on some of the cash flow property as well. So now that sounds really good. So that's very much it. I mean, was there anything that I should have asked that I didn't?
No, I don't think so. I just appreciate the time. I appreciate you, Blendon, and all that you've done, the support that you've given me. I think that I'm incredibly blessed that I have come across you and your team. They have definitely looked after me and supported me in my journey. And I know it's great to have a young fellow like yourself who has got skin in the game, happy to open yourself up and say, I mean, as I said to you, I've been able to travel and I've got you plugged into my ears, whether I'm in Italy or wherever I've been. I've had your voice talking about your journey in the podcast and so on. And it's been really refreshing because it feels like it's a voice from home. And seeing that you go, well, you've got a young family, you know what it means when things are successful, you know what it means when things haven't worked for you, and you're real about it. I mean, because it's not all beer and skittles. It's sometimes it can be tough. It's been interesting when you opened up about your decision making, because when you open up and saying, no, this has been absolute I've messed this up or it hasn't worked. I wish I'd done this differently. Then others can learn from that. I mean, and always presenting it being this is the golden ticket to be a billionaire. Right, it's the going through the graph, going through the tough times. And I think that level of honesty I've really appreciated.
Thank you so much. I didn't expect that. I didn't pay Terry for that, by the way. So to our dear listeners, thank you again for joining us for this episode. I'm certain that you guys have taken away something from Terry's story. And again, property investments isn't always just easy, right? It's quite the journey, but numbers don't lie, like Terry mentioned multiple times. If you endure through it and understand what you're trying to achieve out of it, that can be something amazing that's going to provide for your, financial future, right? Until next time, keep leveraging, keep learning, and listen to another episode of Leverage Podcast coming. And if you guys have found value, remember to share it with one person who might find it valuable. Until next time, I'll see you guys again. And thank you, Terry. Thank you for your time today.